How's it going, Mathaholics? Like I say at the start of every single video, once we get to 150 subscribers, we're going to be giving away 3 free Cane's gift cards. So if you want to have a chance to win some free chicken, just do yourself a favor and hit that subscribe button, and hopefully you're one of the lucky 3 people. Alright, so without any further ado, let's see what this question is asking us to do. It says, find the volume of a rectangular prism with length of 6 inches, width of 5 inches, and height of 4.5 inches. So luckily, all we need to do is know what the formula for volume of a rectangular prism is. And we know that it is length times width times height. So we just need to multiply the 3 values that were given to us. 6 times 5 times 4.5. 6 times 5 is 30. 30 times 4.5 is 135. Is that an answer on here? Yes, it is. 135 inches cubed. And that is exactly how we get that first answer. Alright, so for this next problem, it says, find the volume of a cone with slant height of 4.3 centimeters and a radius of 3.5 centimeters. Alright, I know these type of problems throw a lot of people off, so if you're one of those people who finds this problem to be a little more challenging, all I ask is that you pay attention, and I guarantee you won't find this problem hard anymore. Alright, so how do we do this? We might be asking ourselves. As you can see here, I stole a picture of a cone from the internet because I think it'll be a lot easier. Now, let's fill in what we're given to us. It says slant height of 4.3 centimeters. So are we going to put that right here? No. Why? Because that's just the height. Unfortunately, it is not that easy to do. So we have to put our slant height over here. And sure, technically you could put it here too, but I just chose to put it on the right side. I just figured I'd mention that in case somebody was wondering if you could put it on the left side. Okay, and then what else do we know? Radius of 3.5 centimeters. So where is our radius? Right over here. Whoops, what was that? There we go. 3.5. Alright, so now how do we solve this? Well, you might be able to see that we have a right triangle right here. I'm just going to delete that so it's a little easier for us to do this problem, but I wanted to highlight it so that you could see that we do have a right triangle. What do we know about right triangles? Well, we know a lot of things, but for this problem, what we need to know about right triangles is that to find the missing side length, we do the Pythagorean theorem. And I'm not sure when we learned Pythagorean theorem. I feel like it's elementary school, but in case we don't remember it, it's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. Now you can label this A, or you can label this B, you can label this A, you can label this B. It doesn't matter. As long as your hypotenuse, which is the longest side right over here, is always labeled C, the other 2 side lengths are interchangeable. Once again, I figured I'd mention that in case somebody does not remember how to do Pythagorean theorem. You can just send me a thank you in the comments. No big deal. Alright, so now that we know our side, which side we're going to call which, I'm just going to say the side we don't know is A, so a squared plus 3.5 squared equals c squared. There we go. Alright, now how do we solve this? We need to do 3.5 squared, and I don't know what that is off the top of my head, so I'm going to type that in the calculator. Alright, 12.25. I'm going to move this whole thing over a little bit just because I want it all to fit on the screen. Okay, equals 4.3 squared. What is that? That gives us 18.49. I'm not sure what grade we are in when we're watching this, but if I was in middle school or high school and I saw this problem, I probably, well, not high school, but if I saw this in middle school, I probably would have freaked out, not gonna lie. Alrighty. Okay, so now we have this. Now what do? We need to, just like a regular old equation, if I gave you 2x equals 4, how do you solve? You isolate the x, divided by 2, divided by 2. Same exact concept. All you have to do here is isolate for that a squared term. So how do we do that? We subtract 12.25. I don't know why the pen keeps doing that, but we subtract 12.25 from each side equals 2.5. And what does that give us? A squared equals 6.24. Alright, so now what do we do? If I, just in case this is scary or something, if we see x squared equals 4, what do? We square root, and then we get x equals 2. So we do the exact same thing. Don't let this a squared throw you off. Don't let the 6.24 intimidate you. I know it sounds very stupid, but I know it can be frustrating just seeing terms that we're not necessarily used to seeing. So that's all we have to do. We just take square root of both sides. Gives us a, and this is about 2.49, 2.5. I'm just gonna say it's 2.5. Perfect. So now we have finally found this side length. And now do we circle in 2.5 and say we are done? Unfortunately, we are not. So now that we have found 2.5 to be our missing side length, I just wrote it up here. And now this problem is very straightforward from here on out. Let me just erase all this so we can have more room to work. Is anyone thinking about that Cane's gift card? Sorry, I figured I'd just ask that question while I'm deleting this stuff. Alright, so now in order to figure out the rest of this problem, all we need to do is ask ourselves, what is the formula for volume of a cone? And I believe, well, it's not I believe, it's more like I just looked it up a couple minutes ago because I don't remember it, but it is volume equals, let me change the color, equals 1/3 pi times radius squared times height. Alright, so now that we know this formula here, what do? There's a couple ways you could do this. If you have a calculator, which is probably how you're doing it, I'll just show you. Okay. So we got the 1/3 pi. What is our radius? Right here, 3.5 squared. What is our height? We found that to be 2.5. And now if you just put this into your calculator, it'll give you 32. Now I know that is a bit of a long drawn out explanation of how to do this, but I figured it was the easiest way to explain this to somebody, and I hope it was some type of helpful for you. Alright, so find the volume of a hemisphere with a radius of 6 meters. So right here I already wrote the formula for the volume of a sphere. So knowing that this is the volume of a sphere, what is a hemisphere? A hemisphere simply just means half of a sphere. So that would just be this side or this side. Now with that information, what exactly does that mean? That just means that this formula right here, we're just going to take half of that, and that is exactly what our formula is going to be. So what is 4/3 pi times radius cubed divided in half? Simple. It's just going to be, we're going to replace this 4 with a 2. So volume equals 2/3 pi times radius cubed. And the reason why I mentioned this is because sometimes we're not asked to remember the formula for a hemisphere, just the formula for a sphere, and then on the test we're given a question asking us to find the volume of a hemisphere when we were never taught how to do that. So I figured I'd just show you the why this hemisphere formula exists, in case you've never seen something like that. Alright, so now that we know the formula, 2/3, we just plug numbers in. 2/3 times pi times the radius cubed. 6 times 6 is 36, times 6 is 216. Let's type that into the calculator. And we get 452.4 meters cubed. Very simple, just got to remember the formula and the answer will come right to you. Alright, so for this next question, we are asked to find the volume of a cylinder with the radius of 8 feet and a height of 12 feet. Okay, so I already went ahead and wrote down the formula for the volume of a cylinder. And now, just like in every other problem, once we understand the step that we're on, we just need to plug numbers in. So volume equals pi times the radius squared. What's the radius? 8 squared times height. 8 squared is 64. We'll leave the pi there. The height is 12. And in case you see that I'm like putting parentheses around everything, it just makes it a lot easier when you go to put things into the calculator, because the calculator might not necessarily understand what you're doing. So if you put parentheses, it's just a surefire way. Alright, so 64 times 12 gives us 768, and then we multiply that by pi, and it gives us 2,411.52, and that rounds to 2,412, and that is how we got that answer.